So, I think today's coffee's a little bitter, don't you?
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
I mean, if you have any sugar lying around, I could definitely use a little bit here.
I think I do. So just to clarify, Matt, are you saying you'd like me to give you some sugar?
Just pour it on me. Hello, everybody. Welcome to 2M Football. I marked the mic again.
Nice. I love hearing that when it just explodes.
Or when I have to edit this and it gets really quiet because I have to drop it so low just to not blow my speakers out. It's Matt.
And Mike.
And I can't believe I'm about to say this. We are starting our final NFC and NFL division.
So excited.
The NFC North. We are bringing it home.
If you haven't caught it from any of the references we've made over the course of the last couple months, we are from Chicago. So this is our hometown division.
And we are huge Packer fans.
Yeah,
so
ironically enough.
We have two reasons, dude. This is even more amazing, dude. We're starting with our favorite team. We're ending with our home team.
And then we have to do two in between. But yeah, I'm excited. It's very exciting. Guys. Bringing it home. That'll be Friday's show, though, when we get to the Chicago Bears. But for today, we're starting with the first place team and
the Detroit Lions.
They wish. That'll never happen.
Whoa.
Sorry, not while Aaron Rodgers is in town. I'll say that. I can say that confidently.
No, we're starting with the Green Bay Packers,
which happens to be both of our favorite teams. And they had a pretty good season last year. It was rocky at times, but they finished 10-6, won the division. And then, they beat the Giants in the wild card. I mentioned this before, but I was at that game. It was awesome. And then
I was there, too.
In spirit. We had this exact conversation a few weeks ago. I think I said something about Snapchat next time I send you pictures. Anyway.
Send me Snapchat pictures.
And then, of the game, to be clear.
Of sugar.
So they beat the Giants. They beat the Cowboys. But then they were completely beat down by the Falcons in the championship game.
Although it was an exciting beatdown, it was a... Well, this is coming from a Falcons fan, too, so...
Oh, yeah, Matt was so torn in the week leading up to that game.
The NFC Championship was the hardest game to watch because... Well, but you know what? At the same time, it was exciting because it meant the Super Bowl meant something for me as a fan. Because if Green Bay went, I'd be excited. And if the Falcons went, which they did, I was still excited. I was rooting for somebody. Whereas before, it's like you watch the Super Bowl to watch the Super Bowl.
Right. So it was kind of a tumultuous season at times for the Packers. And there were even...
Very big word.
Big words. I'm sorry. Maybe Matt can put up the definition of the word tumultuous.
I don't even know if I can spell that.
All right, then you're on your own. And during the middle of the season, there were even people calling for head coach Mike McCarthy to be fired when the team was 4-6 and reeling from some big losses.
Which I thought was ridiculous.
Yeah, me too. And then came another famous quote from Rodgers. A year ago it was relax. This year it was... We're going to run the table, and that's exactly what they did. They won 6 in a row to finish the regular season, got those 2 playoff wins before that I would call kind of embarrassing loss in the championship game.
But in all honesty, the fact was they went from a team that looked like the playoffs would be a long shot to competing in the NFC Championship. Mm-hmm. I mean, if that's not running the tables, I don't know what is.
Yeah, for sure. And let's jump right into the offense. Which carried this team, I would say. So they averaged 27 points per game, which was 4th best in the league. 369 yards per game, which was 8th. 262 pass yards per game, which was 7th in the league. And 106 rush yards per game, which was 20th. And you can't talk about this offense without talking about Aaron Rodgers, first and foremost.
I was going to say Jared Cook, but...
We'll get to him. Rodgers, he was kind of bogged down by a non-existent running game at times and a completely non-existent defense almost all the time. But because of those two things, Rodgers attempted a career-high 610 passes this year. And he completed 65% of them for 40 touchdowns, which led the NFL, and just 7 interceptions.
I know, he beat Matt Ryan for touchdowns.
By 2.
I was so mad.
It was close. And... Rodgers is 33 now, and he really looks as good as ever. He's one of the best at moving out of the pocket, throwing on the run, throwing downfield.
And he's not slowing down like some quarterbacks would be. Like, getting in the mid-30s, he's like, I could do this another 5-10 years.
Right, but he's going to need some help from the rest of the team around him if they want to get back to... I don't think Matt liked the sugar I gave him. He just made a very interesting face.
I don't know what Duncan did to our coffee this morning, dude, but...
Yeah, it's not good today.
It's all wrong.
So even as good as he looks, you have to think the window of his prime is going to close at some point for the team to get him back into the Super Bowl. And let's start with running back.
Lack thereof.
Yeah, where he didn't get much help last year. So we'll talk about a guy who's not on the team anymore, and that's Eddie Lacy. He had...
Marshawn Lynch.
He's also not on the team. Very good.
Yes.
So Lacy, the previous offseason, he'd been trying to lose a lot of weight for Coach McCarthy's demands, which he really needed to because he was
Why did you
overweight. He was just...
You said that.
All right. I'm sorry. I always it's like it's eye contact. We're talking to each other and the audience. I'm not saying you need to lose weight. If that's what you... Let's call up Mike McCarthy and see what he thinks.
Yo, what up, Mike?
So after he lost weight, this was kind of a prove it year for Lacy. He was on the last year of his rookie contract, and he wanted to show that he was worth investing more in. Unfortunately, he only played in 5 games this year because of an ankle injury that put him on IR, where he didn't see the field again. And while he was gone, this next guy I'm about to talk about really exploded onto the scene and made Lacy pretty much expendable. And he was not re-signed by the Packers, and he got picked up by the Seahawks on a 1-year deal. So the guy who seems like will be the starter next year is Ty Montgomery. And I know what you're thinking. Isn't he a wide receiver?
I was going to say, isn't he number 88?
He's actually going to be changing his number this offseason and become a full-time running back.
I know. So everybody get your 88 jerseys now.
Yeah, people are they're gonna be worth a lot once someone's like, wait, he's number 20 whatever. Anyway, but real fans know he used to be 88.
Real Green Bay fans.
So he stepped in admirably, I'd say, when injuries to Lacy and also James Starks left the Packers very thin at running back. And he ended up carrying the ball 77 times for 457 yards, with a 5.9 average per carry and 3 touchdowns over the course of the season. And he also still caught a lot of passes, mostly out of the backfield, with 44 receptions and another 348 yards.
Well, I don't know if you knew this, but he was a wide receiver. So it was almost guaranteed it was going to be catching out of the backfield for him. Mm-hmm. But I know that there was a lot of talk, and he mentioned several times he always wanted to play running back. Mm-hmm. And now I think he's proven, without beyond a shadow of a doubt, that he's earned that position.
Oh, definitely. And let's see, like we were just talking about, McCarthy announced this offseason that Montgomery will convert to a full-time running back for 2017. And the team seems to have a lot of faith in him, which I think is deserved, and that's indicated by letting Lacy go, letting Starks go, and not making a free agency splash at running back, despite some Adrian Peterson rumors. But that's looking less likely every day. So the only other guy right now is Christine Michael, who was picked up halfway through the season after he was cut by Seattle. And he looked pretty good there. He had a 4.0 average and 6 touchdowns with the Seahawks, but they cut him once their starter, Thomas Rawls, returned from injury.
Rawls.
Once he came to the Packers, he didn't look quite as good. He had 31 carries, 115 yards with only a 3.7 average and just the 1 touchdown. So he'll continue to be a backup and rotational running back next year. And the other guy is Aaron Ripkowski, because they have to have someone to do that job. That doesn't work quite as well.
It's no John Kuhn.
He's John Kuhn 2.0, and he's the fullback.
Wouldn't 2.0 be an improvement?
Just means it's the next one.
The next gen.
Yeah, in theory,
I guess. The I2.
It should be an improvement, and you're right. I don't know if I'd say that necessarily.
I don't know. He's good, though. He's a comparable replacement for the fact that they don't have Kuhn.
I think it would be a good idea for them to pick up one more running back just for depth in this backfield. And I think
at the rate they're going, I mean, you're as likely to get injured as a Green Bay running back as you are to get in prison like an Illinois governor.
All right. Try not to talk politics too much on the show, but that was a good one.
I was going to say, did you appreciate that?
I did. So I would recommend that they draft a running back at some point. Doesn't have to be early. The draft is deep for running backs.
I mean, if we're talking draft and development, is there any other team that does it better?
There is not.
That's not just us. I've heard that a lot from professionals.
Yeah, I think that's an objective statement. I don't have the numbers on this, but I remember seeing them at some point. How many Packers stay on the roster, like their whole career? How many they remain Packers because the team drafts them, they develop them, they keep re-signing them, and yeah.
And well, they get to roll over cap every year too because they're not making big paydays in free agency where these players are worth X amount of dollars. They start on their basic rookie contracts and they allow them that space to keep adding a little bit every re-sign. And 12 years down the road, they can just be like, I've made enough.
So that's about it for running backs. Let's look at wide receivers next. Top guy here is Jordy Nelson. He's coming off a ACL tear in 2015.
Are you sure that ACL tear ever happened?
You might not know it by looking at him. And he did start a little bit slow this season, but by the second half of the year, he almost matched the production of his very best seasons. And he finished this past year with 97 catches, 1,200 yards, and 14 touchdowns, which led the NFL. And that Rodgers to Nelson connection has been like the lifeblood of this Packers offense for,
3-4 years now.
Yeah, 5 years. I don't know how long he's been in the league, but
feels like forever.
It does. And he is 31. So starting to get up there a little bit, and he did not look as fast as he used to, I would say. Whether that has anything to do with the injury or just
I think his slow start was also because you never want to come back off of an ACL tear and be like, I'm going to go full blazing speed on the first snap that I'm back, and all of a sudden.
That's true. He was kind of eased back into that number one receiver role. And so, yeah, he'll be obviously the number one receiver again next year, he should be able to start out full speed again. Or not again. This time. So the next guy up is Devontae Adams, who's in his third season. God.
This kid.
He's very kind of up and down. He continued to increase his playing time and his role in the offense this year. And he had 75 catches for 997 yards and 12 touchdowns, which was tied for second most in the NFL. So a couple of touchdown makers at the top here, these wide receiver core.
And it's not just that, but it's the touchdowns he made when they needed them. Like,
he had some very clutch catches.
I think he's almost instrumental. Previous first 2 years were up and down, but I think he's made a statement of, I'm here.
Yeah.
You give me the chances, and I'm going to make things happen.
He keeps improving, which is great to see. At the same time, though, he does still struggle with some drops, and that's been a theme throughout his career. Let's see.
But you could almost argue... Oh, sorry.
Hang on. He had 6 drop passes in 2015. That's supposed to say my notes are wrong. But then he had 5 drops this season. But the 5 drops this season were on a lot more targets than the 6 from last year. So he's improving his drop rate by decreasing it.
Well, you could almost argue, too, it's almost like the Amari Cooper situation or Michael Crabtree, where they make drops, too, but their production and performance outweighs those drops because they can compensate for it. As long as they're not crucial, timely drops, which once in a while it's going to happen.
That's what it seems like, though. You're right, is that I don't know if this is what this proves, but it seems like his drops seem to tend to be early in the game, where by the fourth quarter he's making those clutch catches. He's ready to go. He's applied a new layer of stickiness to his gloves or whatever it is, but he makes the key catches when they need him, and he'll definitely continue to be the number 2 receiver here. So the other guy, or one of the other guys, is Randall Cobb, who has been playing slot role his whole career in Green Bay. He missed 3 games last year with ankle injuries and finished with 60 catches, 600 yards, and just 4 touchdowns. So Cobb is on the decline, I would say. His receptions, touchdowns, and big plays have all been trending downward for 3 straight years now. And he plays out of the slot most of the time. He's on the field for about 70% of the snaps, which is a decent amount. But they've mainly been using him for checkdowns and short passes with the hope that he can make something happen afterwards. And he just hasn't really been able to do that recently. He averages 5.9 yards after catch per reception, this year and 5.7 last year, and that's down more than a full yard from his almost 7 yards after catch per reception.
I'm wondering if that isn't contributed to Devontae Adams, too, stepping it up hugely, and now having Jordy Nelson back this year as opposed to last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got two outstanding weapons. And then on top of that, they had, the tight ends with Jared Cook and all them being great passers. And Ty Montgomery taking a lot of the passes out of the backfield this year. I mean, that doesn't kind of surprise me that someone's dipping when everyone else is coming up.
Right, but even last year when Nelson was gone, that was, you would have thought, would be the year for Cobb to really emerge, and he didn't do that. So I'm just saying I'm a little concerned about Cobb. He's not as productive as he used to be. Even on the touches he does get, he doesn't look as good as he used to. I'm not saying they should do anything about it necessarily, but
they probably should do something about it, but
well, not yet. I don't know. I'm not saying
in a bad way. They just need to do something to help him with his production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say he needs more opportunities to run more, different kinds of routes and that sort of thing. But there's another guy, I know we're talking about like everybody on this roster. There's another guy that I think we need to talk about.
Stay tuned for the 4-part series, Green Bay Packers 2016 recap.
Okay, just really quickly, Geronimo Allison.
Geronimo!
I know, it's awesome. He was a rookie last year out of Illinois, which you don't see too much. That's my
Illinois. Wait a second.
No, that's not it. But he had 12 catches, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns during the regular season, and he really stepped up in the playoffs, too, once Nelson missed a little bit of time with that ribs injury.
You picked up speed on your speech.
Matt, you just wrote down how long we've already been talking, and he underlined it like 3 times, so I'm trying to speed things up a little bit. Okay, tight end. They lost Jared Cook. I was a little surprised they weren't re-signing him until they signed Martellus Bennett.
Oh, Captain Holds-a-Lot.
Yes, that is correct. They signed Bennett to a 3-year, $21 million deal.
You see my feelings on this.
He has at least 700 yards and at least 5 touchdowns in each of the last 3 full seasons he's played. He'll be a great addition for Rodgers in the passing game.
And he'll face Chicago.
Twice. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be really fun. I mean, we always have Packers-Bears games circled on the calendar, but there's one more reason than usual this year.
I don't have a calendar.
I get to say it this time. I hate you. All right, they also signed Lance Kendricks to a 2-year, $4 million deal. Okay, offensive line. Very quickly. Packers had one of the best pass-blocking offensive lines last year, but they've lost a pair of starters to free agency.
TJ Lang,
who went to Detroit, an extra slap in the face. And
you're right.
He was their starting guard.
Detroit, really?
Yeah. And then J.C. Treader, their starting center, went to the Browns.
Don't tread on me.
And that concerns me, but I want to give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit, though, because I remember last season they let Josh Sitton walk, and the Bears signed him, ironically enough.
He didn't sit.
They weren't much worse off for it, so I think we can trust them. Corey Linsley will be the new center, and he actually started the last 9 games of this past season after Treader suffered a knee injury, and he looked just as good, so I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about the loss of Lang at guard.
Definitely. He was an amazing guard.
Mm-hmm. So the guy
Left
that'll
guard,
be,
yeah.
I think right guard. Oh. Let's see. So we got Don Barclay. He'll be the right guard next year, and he only has 6 starts in the past few years, and
former Bears quarterback.
I think this is where Lang's absence will be felt the most. I don't know what's going on here. Barclay is 27 years old and has.
Mike just stopped halfway through a sentence he was writing.
I think Barkley's going to be an issue, so they should get another guard. Whether it's this isn't a strong draft for offensive line, but maybe they can take a flyer on someone in a later round. Okay, all right, Matt. You have 30 seconds to recap the defense.
It was there, maybe.
All right, thank you, everyone.
No, this Green Bay defense was just complete. I'm going to say Mike's favorite line. It's just complete garbage this year. I don't know what happened to it. 21st in points, allowing 24.2, 22nd in yards, allowing 363.9, 31st against the pass, allowing 269.2, but their run defense was anchored great by their front line at 8th overall, allowing 94.7 rush yards. And the biggest thing was just this defense was riddled with injuries. I mean, every week it seemed like someone else was either missing time or going down mid-game. Yeah. And I actually felt bad for Dom Capers, who I think is an amazing defensive coordinator. Because despite all these injuries and these stats, he helped get the team to the NFC Championship. While Aaron Rodgers obviously can do most of it, a team needs a defense. Mm-hmm. And Capers, to put it in comparison, Chicago was riddled with injuries on their defense, and they went 3-13, having very far dreams of making it to the playoffs. So I credit a lot of this to Dom Capers' ability to be like, who's starting this week, and being able to plug those holes with somebody. Mm-hmm. I thought it was going to get to the point where they were going to start plugging it with wide receivers because they just no corners.
Yeah.
What I was really sad to see was Micah Hyde go.
I agree. I was very sad.
Micah Hyde surprised me because I didn't anticipate what he was going to be capable of, and he came out really strong and really solid. He had some missed tackles. He had some questionable check-type tackles that I'm not a fan of. But when it came to time to step up and perform, he did his job. And to see him let go kind of surprised me.
Yeah, especially how with the struggling secondary. And he also returned punts and looked pretty good doing it at times. I remember that from the playoff game.
So, special teams guy, just, a multi-role player, which you don't see a lot for the defense.
Right.
But what I'm more upset about, and there's been no word on his official release, but he hasn't been re-signed, and that's Sam Shields.
Yeah, that's a big loss if they don't get him.
Shields was one of my favorite Packers since he came in and started for this Green Bay team. But the problem is his injury history, specifically the concussions. This is another Wes Welker incident where he's just a phenomenal player, but he's just been prone to injuries, specifically concussions, which are extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
And it's sad that I don't think they're looking to keep him. I'm surprised nobody else has jumped on the bandwagon and grabbed him since he's available, but I think it all stems to the fact of these concussions.
I really think it's a possibility that he won't play again in the NFL.
And it's really sad because he's only like 26, 27. So he's got at least another 6 years in him, but
these head injuries are scary.
And and they're not something you joke about either.
And you see so many players recently retiring early for those reasons. Do you remember that San Francisco linebacker a few years ago? Blanking on his name, Borland or something. He was a rookie linebacker. He was amazing, but he retired after his rookie season.
The Ravens linebacker too. Or
Yep. So players are becoming more and more aware of this issue and the effects it can have.
And the thing is, like, a lot of people say, well, remember the good old days when people were tough and they just played through it. Well, this isn't that. Like, they didn't know back then.
And the other thing is, with all these older former players, every couple months it seems you hear about a new one who's suffering from, CTE or depression, some kind of brain issues. It's a rough sport.
It's serious.
Yeah.
It's a serious thing that you don't take lightly. And I have more respect for these younger guys who realize it and realize there's more going on in their lives. Because there's nothing worse than being 40 years old and you start to develop these issues when you have so much time left in your life.
Right.
And especially some of these guys got families now too. Like, I think it's brave, and it's just a statement to their character that they're willing to look at it and be like, I want to play, but I know what's best for not just me, but my family. It's just sad to see these guys retire.
Yeah, it is.
It seems like they started plugging some of these holes that they've started to get by signing David House back.
He was with the Packers for a few years before he went to Jacksonville, and now he's back.
And Clinton Dix not only is a great player, but has an amazing name.
He sure does.
Has definitely shown that he's sticking around for a while, and he's going to be a major part of this defense. But I have a feeling that they're waiting for everybody to come back healthy, and it's just because it's such a defensive-heavy draft this year, it's going to be another instance of draft and develop. That they're going to take a year to get the secondaries, and who knows, at this point they may be starting.
They've got a lot of young guys like Demarius Randall and Quentin Rollins. Who they showed flashes. I thought they were pretty decent.
They had instances where they would make great plays, but then they'd completely do something that's like, where were you on that play?
Randall's clearly not a number one cornerback. At least he wasn't last year.
Well, no,
he got beat way too consistently.
The one number I saw, and I didn't write it down, but I don't know how I remember this, was he averaged allowing per game 26.5 yards after the catch him alone, which puts a lot of stress on the safety because that's almost saying that you're guaranteeing or expecting safety help.
Right.
And that's not always going to be there.
So a lot's happened at linebacker this offseason. They let Julius Peppers go back to his hometown, well, his original team, Carolina. Dayton Jones, they also let go. And they did re-sign, those are both outside linebackers. They did re-sign Nick Perry at outside linebacker. This is their biggest money spent this offseason because they re-signed him to a 5-year, $59 million deal.
Jesus Christ, I want that contract.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. And he's been pretty good. I believe he had 11 sacks last year. And he'll continue to play opposite Clay Matthews, which I'm very hopeful that these inside linebackers can step up because what they've had to do with Matthews recently is put him inside just because there has been no one else to do it. This past year they drafted Blake Martinez to play inside linebacker, and he looked okay. So I took a look at both of these inside linebackers.
You were really excited about these linebackers.
I wasn't excited as much as I just wanted to know more about them because I didn't know who they are.
Yeah, Mike's words to me were I thought he said I have linebackers covered, but he meant he had inside linebackers covered. But do we need to cover Clay Matthews? No.
No, we know what he can do if he's allowed to play that role. Yeah.
And if he's healthy.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing, yeah. So the inside linebackers are Jake Ryan and Blake Martinez. Not exactly household names. Jake Ryan is in his second year. He was in his second year last year. He had 82 tackles. And he looked really good, actually. Here's what I saw. I watched their Week 9 game against the Colts. And I just watched both of them on every play. And so...
Even the offense plays?
Yeah, they look good on the sideline, too. And so Jake Ryan impressed me way more than Martinez did. I liked how Ryan looked. He had good vision to thread through blockers and find the running back on run plays. Both of them have issues in coverage, though. They've both had times where they didn't get deep enough in their zone and a pass was completed up the seam, like over their heads where they should have been. But as far as run stopping, Ryan looked great. He can close really quickly and covering the running back, even on pass plays when he's on him in man-to-man. Now, granted, it was Frank Gore, who's 32 years old, not,
the world's
young
fastest
spring chicken, as they say. But he looked good covering him. Let's see. I really like Ryan's tackling technique. You talk a lot about players who just go for like a big hit to try to knock him down. But what I saw Ryan do is consistently wrapping up and making a strong tackle.
So actually tackling.
Actually tackling. And the other thing that impressed me is he squares up on a guy, and once he hits you, you're not going forward anymore. He didn't give up any more yards once he makes contact, which I love to see. He was good at fighting through blocks, staying alive, and making tackles when the running back comes by him. So Ryan looked great. He impressed me. Blake Martinez is kind of a different story, but he's only a rookie, so he had 69 tackles, a sack, and an interception in his rookie year.
That's not horrible for a rookie.
It's not horrible, but what I saw is that he tends to get sucked up by blockers more. That's exactly right. And he was, like I mentioned, he was also slow and dropping back into his zone sometimes on pass plays. I wrote this down, and it sounds silly, but he can make a good tackle when he's not blocked. That might sound dumb, but...
No, I get it.
Okay. And
to me, it makes sense.
Similarly to Ryan, I saw him executing tackles with good form when he was in the position to do it. So his biggest issue is, I would say his strength and size probably, because he gets too easily... Once he gets engaged with a lineman or with anyone trying to block him, he rarely got out of that. He was pretty much out of the play once that happened. So he needs to work on being able to fight through blocks and have the strength to get out of them, basically. Mm-hmm. But he was only a rookie, like I said, so he has time to improve. Ryan looked great, and I feel much better about this linebacking core than I did before I knew who these guys were. And that's it. That's all I got.
All right. That means it's finally time for the TLDW. Yeah, we are at 29 minutes and 20 seconds, so
okay,
go.
That could have been worse. All right, yeah, I got
I figured this was going to be about a 30-minute episode.
Yeah, this is one where we really need the too long didn't watch because it's probably too long for most people to watch.
I didn't watch.
I always watch. All right, Packers were 10-6 this year, won the division, lost in the NFC Championship game to the Falcons. The offense was great, especially the passing offense. Rodgers led the league with 40 touchdowns. He's 33 years old, though, and even though he doesn't show any signs of decline yet, you got to think he will in the next few years. So this team around him needs to improve if they want to get him back to the Super Bowl.
So short Aaron Rodgers was Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm. Running back, they lost Eddie Lacy to free agency, but it's not that big a loss because he's overweight. I'm purposely not looking at Matt when I say this. And he lost. He went to Seattle, but Ty Montgomery looked really good. The converted wide receiver turned running back looked great this year. He averaged almost 6 yards per carry and still caught passes out of the backfield. And he's going to convert to a full-time running back for next year.
I'm excited for that.
Me too. I can't wait to see what number he picks. Maybe he'll take over Lacey's at 27, I believe. And they've also got Kristen Michael to serve as the backup, and Aaron Ripkowski at fullback. Though I would say they should draft a running back at some point in the draft. Not super high, but just someone for depth.
Draft and develop.
Wide receiver Jordy Nelson looked as good as he used to, coming off a ACL tear, and led the league with 14 touchdowns. Devontae Adams looked great too. He had some of the same drop problems that have plagued him throughout his career, but they seemed to be earlier in the game, and he really made a lot of clutch catches with the game on the line. Randall Cobb seems to be having issues. He's not as productive as he used to be, and he just doesn't look that good, but I'm not saying to do anything about it for now. Also, Geronimo Allison is there and has a great name. At tight end, they lost Jared Cook to free agency, but it's not that big a loss because they signed Martellus Bennett, which is very exciting. They also signed Lance Kendricks. At offensive line, they lost their guard, TJ Lang, and center JC Treader to free agency. Not worried about center because Corey Lindsley looks really good. But at right guard, they've got Don Barclay, who does not look good, and they need to address that.
Defense just looked pitiful. I have a lot to do with injuries. Mm-hmm. I think they were just plagued at every week, every game. It seemed they lost somebody for some amount of time to the point where Dom Capers didn't know what to do. I was expecting wide receivers to start playing corners. Corner is their biggest liability. As Mike touched up on, the linebacking core looks solid. That front line looks great because they were 8 against the run, which means they're doing their job. Mm-hmm. It's these corners that are killing them. And it doesn't help that they lost Micah Hyde and then they're losing one of their guys, Sam Shields. Doesn't look like he's coming back. It seems like they've started to sort of plug the hole, though, with re-signing or bringing back David House. Mm-hmm. So it looks like they're making some addresses to try to shore it up. But I have a feeling that they're going to let everybody heal up, and it's going to be a draft and development issue for the secondary. What this defense is going to do next year is anybody's guess. If they do decide to draft and develop, I expect the defense to do a little bit better, but not by much because you're going to have rookies on the field. Mm-hmm. But that may be where they're going, being the fact they have the perfect opportunity as the number one draft and develop team to shore up their defense with young guys. And then that would allow them down the road to fix any offensive problems they could have. Clinton Dix came out, looks fantastic.
Just because we didn't mention him and I feel bad. Morgan Burnett is a great run-stopping safety.
So this defense should look a little bit better than next year, but until we know exactly what their game plan is, it's going to be hard to see. And with that, we are finally wrapping up the Green Bay Packers.
That was a long one.
It's all right. It's all right. Thank you guys for watching or listening. We hope you enjoyed it and you're as excited as we are, but not everybody's the Green Bay fans we are, no. Especially around here.
That's true.
But leave a like, click that little thumbs up button so that we can see that you liked it, because we liked it, we hope. I hope you liked it.
I liked it.
Subscribe so you can stay tuned as we're wrapping it up, because guess what? It doesn't end after these divisions. Our work never ends.
Nope.
And we also have 3 more teams coming up in this division, so stay tuned for that. Check out our email if you have any questions, information, remarks you want to make. You can always send it to us. Check out our Twitter
at 2M_football.
And we will see you in Detroit.
See you then.